My best friend and I were trapped by a system, forced to seduce the cruel male leads of a novel. My assigned target, Kevin Bright, treated my feelings like filth. He tossed insults at me, calling me a twisted stray who should never have wandered into his life. Her target, Marcus Blackwood, used her as an emotional sinkhole, someone to absorb his silence and cruelty. When she made one last desperate call, he let it ring without a single word. Eventually we snapped. One round of rock, paper, scissors, and a pair of staged deaths later, we finally slipped out of that nightmare and woke up in our own world again. But they followed. Now they stand here like repentant lovers, pretending grief has reshaped their souls, begging for a chance to make things right. They really believe remorse is enough to buy our hearts back. The system had chained both of us to the same mission. We were pawns inside a story, forced to seduce its untouchable male leads. Stella was assigned Marcus Blackwood, a silent, immovable monolith of a man. Her job was to win his body. I was placed with Kevin Bright, my cold guardian, and my task was to win his heart just to break it. But Marcus lived like a monk, and no amount of temptation stirred him. Kevin clung to the shadow of an old love, blind to my existence even after 3 years under the same roof. We were both suffocating. I reached my limit first. I sent her a message. I am done. I am tapping out. You? If you quit, I quit too, she replied without hesitation. That was that. We checked our savings, planned the exit, and started crafting our final act. But a question hung between us. Which one of us goes first? First to die leaves the novel and wakes up at home. The other has to tidy up the scene, arrange the funeral, and follow after. Stella typed first. I have had the worst assignment. I will go. Absolutely not. Rock, paper, scissors, or nothing, I replied. I refuse to spend another day here.
Fine. Game on.
She chose scissors. I chose paper. She won, and she celebrated by proclaiming she would be the one to die. I cursed under my breath, but agreed to handle the aftermath. Then she vanished for 2 days. That evening, just as I was about to call her, my phone rang. Her name flashed across the screen. Alice. Her voice was thick, unsteady, the wind roaring around her so loudly it swallowed half her words. Are you drunk? My stomach twisted. Just a little. I needed courage. I am about to do something big. I shot off the sofa. What happened to next Friday? That was the plan. We were supposed to wait a week. She would go first, and I would follow after everything was settled. I cannot wait. Her voice wavered.
Today feels right. I want it to end today.
There was a raw tremor beneath every word. Alice. I just wanted to see Marcus one more time. I gave him 3 years. I know him so well I could tell what he likes from a single glance. And still I get nothing. I refuse to accept it. He is having dinner with her, with Serafina. He will not even pick up my calls. 3 years. Even a stray dog would have learned to show me affection by now. But he never wanted me. Her voice broke again. Since it is Serafina's birthday, I will make it my death day. Something he can never erase. She rambled through slurred, aching words, but her intention was sharp and unmistakable. She was ending her life tonight, and she had called me because Marcus would not answer her.
No.
I grabbed my keys and bolted out the door. No, Stella, stop. Please stop. You cannot do this. I am not ready to lose you. Where are you? Wait for me. I want to be with you. Alice. She was drifting into a world of her own sorrow. Jumping is messy. You will have to find a mortician who can make me look whole again.
And do not bury me.
I am terrified of the dark. Have me cremated and scatter my ashes in the Viridian River, somewhere Marcus will never find. I felt her pain with every breath. I had watched it build for 3 long years. I forced my voice to stay steady. Whatever you want, I will do it. Just tell me where you are. I need to be with you.
No.
I do not want you to see.
It would traumatize you.
The line fell quiet except for the relentless wind. I ran through the streets, screaming her name, falling over my own feet, until my legs gave out and the cold pavement caught me. Her final whisper drifted through the speaker. Alice, I will be waiting for you at home. Then the line snapped. Crack. At the base of Apex Tower, I looked up just in time to see her fall. She dropped from the 18th floor like a butterfly with torn wings and hit the ground with a burst of red that stained the pale concrete. Stella died, right in front of me. I collapsed beside her, hands shaking as I cupped her cheek. My voice broke with every word. You loved your beauty more than anything, so how could you choose an ending like this? Somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew she was not gone forever. When we returned to our true world, we would meet again. But witnessing it, feeling the weight of that moment, crushed me. I had misjudged my own strength and forgotten how tightly the two of us had clung to each other for 3 long years. She had been my anchor in this nightmare, and I had been hers. I was the one who delivered her body to the crematorium. I pushed the stretcher into the furnace, watching the flames devour the face that had once been all light and sharp laughter. When the worker handed me the small metal box, the tears I had held back finally spilled over. Stella, how did you become so small? I took her ashes to the river she had chosen. The current swept them away in an instant. She vanished completely, carried off by the churning water. That was the end of her story in this world. Wait for me, I whispered, touching the surface. I will be there soon. A vibration startled me. Stella's phone was buzzing inside my bag. I pulled it out and saw a message from Marcus. The Grand Elysian Hotel. 8 o'clock.
Get here.
A cold laugh escaped me. This was who he had always been. Her feelings meant nothing. She was something he could summon when he needed to vent his emotions, then abandon the moment he had no use for her. He never once treated her like a person, only a convenience. All because she loved him. As if that gave him the right to crush her heart. I powered the phone off. He had lost the chance to speak to her while she was alive. Now he could live with the silence she left behind. I sat by the river until the sun rose, then dragged myself home. The weak morning light felt icy on my skin. Exhaustion pulled at every bone. The system still demanded that I behave like my character, the foolish girl obsessed with Kevin Bright. No matter how cruel our nights were, I woke up at 6 every morning to prepare his breakfast. The system always repeated the same empty promise. It is bitter now, but the sweetness will come. Once you reach your goal, Kevin will adore you. 3 years had passed. Not a single moment tasted sweet. Stella's end was complete. It was my turn. I picked up a kitchen knife and pressed the cool blade against my wrist. I hesitated again and again, then placed it back on the countertop with a tired sigh. Kevin despised me. If I died in his home, I could imagine the disgust on his face. He always said I was unworthy of the Bright name, that his older brother and his wife never should have adopted a stray who would grow up to fall in love with her guardian. He called me a deranged creature who deserved abandonment. But none of that had been my choice. I had never asked to become a Bright, never asked to be trapped by a system that dictated the script of my life. I fell onto my bed and, despite everything, drifted into sleep. Somewhere inside that half-dream, the system's cold voice echoed. Alice Hayes, your points are sufficient. The exit portal will open tomorrow night. Prepare to leave. Finally, I thought. I am going home. I woke with a jolt, then spent the night stripping the villa of every trace of myself. I hauled all my belongings outside in the heavy rain and left them by the curb for the trash collectors. The downpour washed over everything, carrying away the last fragments of my foolish devotion to Kevin Bright. When I walked back inside, the house felt like a place I had never lived in. Not a single sign of me remained. With nothing left to do there, I called a cab and returned to the Viridian River. I powered on Stella's phone. A cascade of missed calls and messages appeared, all from Marcus. Stella, you are late.
Pick up.
What are you doing? Get to the hotel. Do not make me repeat myself. Colder, sharper, each one a command without a trace of concern. I scrolled until I found the audio file of our final call. The one where her voice had broken apart in the wind. I sent it to him and waited for the tiny notification that said it had delivered. When it appeared, I threw the phone far into the dark water. I wondered what expression he would wear when he heard it. Would he feel even a flicker of remorse? Would something inside him finally crack? Not that it mattered. Stella would never know, and I would not be alive long enough to care. This world was nothing but a game. What does the opinion of an artificial character matter when you have already cleared the stage? A sharp gust cut through me. I pulled my coat closer and took out my own phone. My hands trembled as I wrote my final words. The world is beautiful, but I will not return for another life. I do not regret being a Bright, but in death please let me go free. Do not put me in the family crypt. This is my last request. Alice Hayes, goodbye. Once it was posted, I called Kevin. In the last minutes of my existence here, I wanted to speak to the man who had shaped nearly every thought and emotion I carried. But like Stella's unanswered call, Mine rang and rang and rang. A painful laugh slipped out. I forced down the last fragment of hope and opened the camera. The wind tangled my hair across my face, my expression pale but certain. Kevin, it has been 15 years since the Brights adopted me when I was 6. You told me you would protect me, that you would always watch over me. When I was in middle school, and those boys cornered me behind the classroom, you fought them off. You said no one could lay a hand on someone from your family. You took me to the amusement park, to the very top of the Ferris wheel. You sang to me up there. Every moment of joy in my childhood came from you. My voice cracked. You were the one who gave me reasons to dream. You were the one who made my heart beat. Then the moment you learned I loved you, you changed. You turned cold. You let people mock me for it. You acted like my love was something rotten. You called my feelings sick, but all I ever did was love you. I inhaled slowly, bracing myself. Kevin, I could not choose where I came from or who my family was.
But I can choose to walk away.
From this moment on, there will be no Alice Hayes. You are free. I pressed send. The 2-minute and 17-second video left my phone. A strange peace settled over me.
I dropped the device onto the sand.
Facing the dark water, I stepped forward. The cold surged up my legs, then my waist, then my chest. When it finally reached my neck, I kept moving until the river closed over my head. Silence swallowed everything. On the beach behind me, my abandoned phone lit up one last time. Kevin was calling. Kevin replayed the video over and over, his thumb hitting redial without pause. The number you have dialed is unavailable. The automated voice struck him like repeated blows. His grip on the phone tightened until his knuckles were drained of color. Alice Hayes, still putting on this absurd act, pretending she would really do something like that. He forced himself to breathe, then called his assistant. His jaw was locked so tightly the words almost snapped. Send a team to the coastline. Find Alice Hayes and bring her back. Immediately. Anger coated every syllable, but beneath it was a sharp panic clawing at his chest. When he tried to stand, his knees gave slightly, as if the ground below him had shifted. Sir, where to? His driver asked, worry pressing into his voice as he helped Kevin into the car. Home. Her theatrics would end soon. She always came back. She was stubborn, emotional, impossible to break. She would never go through with something so final. All he had to do was wait at the villa, and she would return. She had to be bluffing. She had to. Inside the villa, Serafina Vance sat on the sofa watching television. She turned toward the sound of the door. Kevin, you're home early. She stepped forward to take his coat, but he seized her wrist abruptly. His fingers were clamps of ice. Where's Alice? His voice was scraped raw. She yelped, and tears gathered in her eyes. Kevin, that hurts. He blinked, as if snapping back into himself, and released her.
Sorry.
He had no patience left for explanations. He ran upstairs. Alice's bedroom looked untouched by human life. Clean, bare, stripped of personality. Every gift he had ever given her, every trace of her existence, had vanished. Housekeeper, what happened to Miss Hayes's belongings? The woman froze at the sound of his voice. She had never seen him this close to losing control. Miss Hayes said she no longer wanted them, sir. She arranged for everything to be removed. When? She started clearing things out a few days ago. The final items were taken this morning.
His balance faltered.
He leaned against the wall, breath shallow. All the excuses he had fed himself, all the comfortable lies, dissolved in an instant. Something cold and monstrous rose inside him, hollowing his chest until he could barely breathe. He grabbed his phone again. Have you found her? He demanded. Not yet, sir. The wind roaring through the speaker made his skin prickle. It sounded like the storm outside was breathing down his neck. Why does it feel like my heart is splitting? The video was not real. It could not be real. She just went somewhere else for the night. She probably went to see her friend. Her friend. Yes. Stella Gordon. They did everything together. Alice must be with her. Kevin pushed off the wall and stumbled toward his desk, nearly dropping the phone as he searched for Marcus Blackwood's contact. Marcus, where is Stella? Is she with Alice? He demanded. Marcus did not answer right away. His hand trembled, the phone slipping slightly in his grip. His eyes were rimmed with moisture, because he did not know where Stella was. He sat alone in a quiet reception room inside the city police department. In front of him lay Stella Gordon's death certificate. She had died on Serafina's birthday. The same night, he had deliberately ignored her repeated calls. When the audio file had first arrived, he had brushed it off as more dramatics, another plea aimed at yanking his attention back to her. But when she never picked up his later calls, an icy dread had pushed him here to report her missing. Only to be told she was not missing at all. She had already been identified. Already declared gone. Gone in the most final way possible. Marcus felt something break inside him. He had no name for the emotion, only the certainty that her last words haunted him like a blade, slicing deeper each time he replayed her voice. "She is gone," Marcus said quietly. The words scraped out of him, each one a weight he could barely lift. He had not noticed the tears until they dropped onto his hands. The word reached Kevin like a strike of lightning.
Gone.
His mind reeled.
His pulse faltered.
How could this be? Kevin's legs gave out. He sank onto the edge of Alice's stripped bed, the phone slipping from his hand and clattering onto the bare floor.
Gone.
The word echoed in the hollow chamber of his chest. Marcus's voice had carried something Kevin had never heard before.
Grief.
Raw, unfiltered grief from a man who prided himself on feeling nothing. If Stella was gone, then Alice.
No.
He refused to complete the thought. His mind scrambled for purchase, for any logic that would prove this was still one of her elaborate performances. Alice Hayes did not give up. She was relentless, exhausting, impossible to shake. For 3 years she had orbited him like a stubborn satellite, weathering every cruel word, every dismissal, every moment he chose Serafina over her. She could not just stop existing. His fingers found the phone again. He opened the video she had sent and watched her face appear on the screen. The wind whipped her dark hair across pale cheeks. Her eyes held something he had spent years refusing to see. Finality. "You were the one who gave me reasons to dream," her recorded voice said. "You were the one who made my heart beat." Kevin's throat constricted. When had her voice become so hollow? When had the light behind her eyes dimmed to this quiet resignation? "You called my feelings sick, but all I ever did was love you." The word sick rang in his memory. He had said it. Multiple times. He had called her obsession twisted, called her attachment unnatural. He had treated her love like a disease that needed to be purged from his home. But watching her now, seeing the gentle goodbye in her expression, he could not find the sickness anywhere. Only a girl who had loved without conditions and received nothing but contempt in return. From this moment on, there will be no Alice Hayes. "You are free." The screen went black.
Free.
The word tasted like ash. He had wanted freedom from her constant presence, from the guilt that needled him whenever she looked at him with those hopeful eyes. He had convinced himself that pushing her away was kindness, that cruelty would eventually force her to move on and find someone worthy of her devotion. But she had not moved on. She had moved out. Out of his life. Out of this world entirely. Kevin's chest heaved. Something wet dripped onto his hands, and he realized with distant shock that he was crying. Downstairs, Serafina called his name. Her voice floated up the stairs, light and unconcerned, asking if he wanted tea. He wanted to scream at her to be quiet, to stop existing in a space that Alice had once filled. But the anger dissolved before it could form words. None of this was Serafina's fault. She had never asked to be placed between them. She was as much a prop in this story as anyone else. The story, the system, the roles they had all been forced to play. Kevin's hands clenched into fists. For 3 years he had resented Alice's feelings without ever questioning why she had them. He had accepted the role of cold guardian, embraced the script that painted him as a man haunted by old love, never stopping to wonder if any of it was real. What if none of it had been her choice? What if she had been as trapped as he was, forced to perform emotions that the system demanded? The thought cracked something open inside him. He thought of every morning she had woken before dawn to prepare breakfast he barely touched. Every evening she had waited by the door, hoping for a kind word. Every small gesture of care he had thrown back in her face. She had been surviving. Just like Stella had been surviving Marcus's indifference. And they had both chosen to stop. Kevin stood on unsteady legs and walked to the window. Outside, rain hammered against the glass. Somewhere in that storm, Alice might still be alive. Or she might already be gone, swept away by the same river that had claimed her friend. His phone buzzed. The assistant's voice was tight with urgency. "Sir, we found something at the Viridian River."
A phone.
And footprints leading into the water. The floor tilted beneath him. "Send divers.
Now.
Search the entire riverbank. I don't care what it costs." Sir, it's been hours. The current is strong and I don't care. The words tore out of him. Find her. Bring her back. She has to be somewhere. But even as he gave the orders, a terrible certainty settled over him like a shroud. Alice Hayes had kept her word. She had walked away. And this time, she was not coming back. I opened my eyes to the familiar ceiling of my childhood bedroom. Pale morning light filtered through curtains I had picked out when I was 14. Posters of bands I used to love covered the walls. My desk was cluttered with textbooks and half-finished sketches. Everything was exactly as I had left it 3 years ago, the day the system had pulled me into that nightmare. I was home. Actually home. My body felt strange, lighter somehow, as if I had been carrying invisible chains that had finally fallen away. I sat up slowly, half expecting the system's voice to intrude with another mission, another task, another demand. Silence. Beautiful, complete silence. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. The date confirmed it. 3 years had passed here too, but in this world, I had never vanished. According to my message history, I had been living a normal life. Going to university. Complaining about assignments. Making plans with friends.
Friends.
My heart lurched. I scrolled frantically through my contacts until I found her name. Stella Gordon. My hands shook as I hit the call button. It rang once.
Twice.
Alice? What's up? Her voice came through clear and bright, so alive it made my chest ache. It's like 7 in the morning. Did you forget we have that exam today? A sob caught in my throat. Stella. Whoa, hey, are you okay? Concern sharpened her tone. What happened? I needed to hear your voice. You're being weird. Are you sick? Do you need me to come over?
No.
No, I'm fine. I'll see you at school. Okay, but you're buying me coffee for this early wake-up call. I laughed through the tears streaming down my face. Deal. After we hung up, I sat clutching the phone to my chest. She was alive. We were both alive. The system had released us. Whatever twisted game it had been playing was over. But the memories remained. Every moment of those 3 years sat fresh in my mind. The weight of Kevin's contempt. The sound of Stella's voice breaking as she stood on that ledge. The feeling of cold river water closing over my head. We had escaped, but we had not escaped unchanged. I dragged myself out of bed and went through the motions of getting ready for class. When I looked in the mirror, the face staring back was the same one I remembered. 21 years old. No longer the Alice Hayes who had grown up in the bright household. No longer the girl who had spent 3 years loving someone who treated her like garbage. Just me. Finally, just me. At university, Stella was waiting by the library entrance with 2 cups of coffee. When I saw her, I dropped my bag and pulled her into a fierce hug. Okay, seriously, what is going on with you? She laughed but hugged me back just as tightly. Did something happen? I pulled away and looked at her carefully. Her eyes held no recognition of the world we had just left. No shadows of Marcus Blackwood's cruelty. No memory of jumping from that building. Stella, do you remember anything strange? Like living a different life? She frowned. Different life? What, like a past life thing? Something like that. Alice, have you been watching those reincarnation dramas again? She shook her head fondly. Come on, we're going to be late. She did not remember. The system had wiped it from her mind. But I remembered everything. Every single
thing.
As we walked to class, a horrifying thought occurred to me. If Stella did not remember, then Kevin and Marcus would not remember either. They were still back in that world, still living out their roles in the story. Unless they had followed us here. The possibility froze me mid-step. Stella turned back, confused.
Alice.
I'm fine, I lied. Just thought I forgot something. But the unease followed me throughout the day. Every time I turned a corner, I half expected to see Kevin's cold eyes watching me. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped, anticipating his name on the screen. By the time classes ended, I was exhausted from the constant vigilance. Stella noticed. You're acting really strange today. Are you sure you're okay? I'm sure. Just didn't sleep well. Well, get some rest tonight. We're supposed to go to that party tomorrow, remember? You promised you'd come this time. I nodded absently, my mind elsewhere. That evening, I was walking home through the park when I saw him. Kevin Bright stood beneath the street lamp at the edge of the path, hands in his pockets, eyes locked on me with an intensity that stopped my breath. He looked different. The cold arrogance was gone, replaced by something raw and desperate. His clothes were rumpled, as if he had been traveling without pause. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. Alice. My name left his lips like a prayer. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But my legs would not move. You're not real, I whispered. You can't be here. I'm real. He took a step forward and I flinched back. He froze, pain flashing across his face. I'm real, and I've been searching for you for 3 days. 3 days? My mind struggled to make sense of it. How is that possible? The same way you escaped. The system opened a door. Marcus and I walked through it. Marcus. If Kevin was here, then Marcus had followed too. Where's Stella? I demanded. Marcus is looking for her. Alice, please, I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. The words came out stronger than I felt. That life is over. You don't get to follow me here. I know. His voice cracked. I know I don't deserve a second of your time, but I'm begging you to listen. Just once. The desperation in his expression was so foreign on him that it almost broke my resolve. Almost. You had 3 years to talk to me, Kevin. 3 years to show even a fraction of kindness. You chose cruelty every single time. And now that I'm gone, now that you can't control me anymore, you want to talk. It's not about control. He ran a hand through his hair, the gesture so uncharacteristically helpless. Alice, I watched you die. I stood at that river, and they pulled your body from the water, and his voice broke completely. I lost my mind. Do you understand? I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could see was your face in that video, telling me goodbye. Good, I said coldly. Now you know how I felt every day for 3 years. He flinched as if I had struck him. You're right. You're absolutely right. I was cruel. I was blind. I convinced myself that pushing you away was the right thing to do, that you would eventually give up and find someone better. I did find someone better. I found myself. I know. And you should hate me. You should never want to see me again. He took a shaking breath. But I can't let you go without telling you the truth. Without trying to explain. Explain what? That you enjoyed tormenting someone who loved you. No. His eyes met mine, and for the first time I saw something genuine in them. Anguish. That I was terrified. That I loved you too, and it scared me so much I couldn't handle it. The world seemed to tilt slightly. You what? I loved you, he repeated, the words spilling out as if he had been holding them back for years. From the moment you turned 18 and looked at me with those eyes full of hope and certainty. But you were my responsibility. My brother trusted me to take care of you, to keep you safe. And I couldn't reconcile that with what I felt. So I buried it. I turned cold. I chose Serafina because she was safe and meaningless, and because being with her meant I didn't have to confront what I really wanted. My hands were trembling. You're lying. I wish I was. It would be easier than admitting I spent 3 years destroying the one person who mattered most to me. He took another step closer. Alice, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just need you to know that your love wasn't sick or twisted. It was the most genuine thing in my life, and I threw it away because I was a coward. Tears burned in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. You don't get to do this. You don't get to rewrite history now that it's convenient. I'm not trying to rewrite anything. I'm telling you the truth I should have told you years ago. Well, it's too late. My voice shook despite my efforts to steady it. That part of my life is over. I'm not going back. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm asking for a chance to start over. Here. In this world. As ourselves, not the roles the system forced on us. No. I shook my head firmly. You had your chance. You don't get another one. I turned and walked away, leaving him standing alone beneath that street lamp. But with every step, my heart screamed at me to turn around. I found Stella at the cafe near campus the next morning. She sat alone at our usual table, staring into her untouched coffee with an expression I had never seen on her face before. She remembered. When? I asked quietly as I slid into the seat across from her. She looked up, and her eyes were haunted. I woke up yesterday, and it all came crashing back. 3 years of loving someone who treated me like furniture. The sound of wind on that rooftop. The fall. Her hands wrapped tighter around the cup. Alice, I died. I actually died. I know. I was there. And then I woke up here and convinced myself it was a nightmare. But this morning... She swallowed hard. Marcus Blackwood showed up at my apartment. My stomach dropped. What did he do? He cried. The words came out disbelieving. He stood in my doorway and broke down crying. He said he's been searching for me since he found out about my death. He said he couldn't live knowing that his last words to me were commands to show up at a hotel like I was his servant. Stella. He said he loved me, Alice. That he had always loved me but didn't know how to show it because he'd never felt anything real before. She laughed bitterly. 3 years of silence, and now he wants to pour out his heart. I reached across the table and took her hand. What do you want to do? I don't know. Her voice cracked. Part of me wants to slam the door in his face and never see him again. But another part. She closed her eyes. I saw him crying, Alice. Marcus Blackwood, who never showed emotion about anything, sobbing in front of me. And something inside me broke open. That doesn't mean you owe him anything. I know. But what if he's telling the truth? What if he really was trapped by the system too, forced to play a role that wasn't really him? Does it matter? I asked gently. Even if he was trapped, he still chose how to treat you. The system didn't put those words in his mouth. You're right. You're absolutely right. She opened her eyes and looked at me. But then I think about 3 years of loving him. 3 years of learning every detail about him. And I wonder if maybe I saw something real beneath all that coldness. Something he was too afraid to show. Or maybe you saw what you wanted to see. She nodded slowly. Maybe. But I need to know for sure. I need to talk to him. Really talk to him, and figure out if there's anything salvageable or if I should just walk away forever. Then talk to him. But don't let him manipulate you into giving him another chance just because he's finally showing emotion. What about you? Stella asked. Kevin followed us here too, didn't he? He found me yesterday. And I told him to leave me alone. But even as I said it, doubt whispered in my mind. He said he loved me, that he was scared and buried his feelings and pushed me away because he didn't know how to handle them. Do you believe him? I don't know what I believe anymore. I rubbed my face tiredly. Part of me wants to believe that there was something real beneath all the cruelty. But the other part remembers every insult, every dismissal, every time he chose Serafina over me. We're a mess, Stella said with a weak laugh. We really are. We sat in silence for a moment, both lost in our thoughts. You know what the worst part is? Stella finally said. Even after everything, even after dying and coming back, I still feel something when I think about him. And I hate myself for it. You don't have to hate yourself for having feelings. But you also don't have to act on them. I know. She squeezed my hand. Whatever we decide together. Like we always have. Together, I agreed. That evening, both Marcus and Kevin showed up at my apartment. I opened the door to find them standing in the hallway, looking like they had aged years in a matter of days. We need to talk, Marcus said. All 4 of us. I wanted to refuse, to slam the door and pretend they didn't exist. But Stella appeared behind me, her hand on my shoulder. Let them in, she said quietly. It's time to finish this. I stepped aside and they entered, the 4 of us gathering in my small living room like opposing armies meeting for negotiation. Marcus spoke first. His voice was rough, as if he had been screaming. I know we don't deserve your time. I know we destroyed any right to your forgiveness. But we're not here to ask for another chance at the relationship we had. We're here to ask if we can start over. Clean slate. As strangers who are trying to figure out if there's something real worth building. Why? Stella asked. Why now? Why not 3 years ago when we were still alive in that world? Because I was blind, Marcus said simply. I thought I was protecting myself by staying distant. I thought if I never let myself care, I could never get hurt. But when I heard your voice on that phone call, breaking apart in the wind, I realized I had already lost everything that mattered. Kevin nodded. We were cowards. Both of us. We hid behind the roles the system gave us because it was easier than being vulnerable. But watching you both give up, watching you choose death over one more day with us. His voice caught. It woke us up. Too late, but it woke us up. Pretty words, I said coldly. But words don't erase 3 years of cruelty. You're right, Kevin said. They don't. Nothing can erase what we did. But maybe we can start building something new. Not the twisted dynamic the system forced on us, but something honest. And if we say no? Stella asked. If we tell you to leave and never come back? Then we leave, Marcus said. And we live with the fact that we had something precious and destroyed it with our own hands. The room fell silent. I looked at Stella, and she looked at me. 3 years of friendship, of surviving hell together, meant we could communicate without words. She was considering it, considering giving Marcus a chance. And despite everything, so was I. We need time, I finally said. Time to process everything. Time to figure out who we are now that we're free from the system. And you need to prove that you're different. Not with words, but with actions. How long? Kevin asked. As long as it takes, Stella replied. Could be months. Could be years. Could be never. We'll wait, Marcus said. However long it takes. They stood to leave, but Kevin paused at the door. Alice, for what it's worth, I'm sorry. For everything. And whether you ever give me a chance or not, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to become someone who deserved you in the first place. After they left, Stella and I collapsed onto the couch. Are we insane? I asked. Probably, she said. But maybe that's okay. Maybe we're allowed to be a little insane after everything we've been through. Maybe. But as I lay in bed that night, I couldn't shake the image of Kevin's eyes. The raw pain in them. The genuine remorse. It didn't erase what he had done. But it made me wonder if maybe, just maybe, there was a possibility of something different. Something real. 3 months passed. True to their word, Kevin and Marcus kept their distance. They didn't show up unannounced. They didn't flood us with messages. They simply existed in our orbit, visible but not intrusive. Kevin got a job at a publishing house in the city. I saw him sometimes at the bookstore I frequented, always keeping a respectful distance but offering a small nod of acknowledgement when our eyes met. Marcus enrolled in the same university as Stella, taking evening classes in psychology. She told me he never approached her on campus, never tried to force conversation. He was simply there, working on himself, trying to understand the emotional barriers he had spent his life constructing. Slowly, cautiously, we began to talk. It started with a text from Kevin. I read a book today that made me think of you. Not sending this to pressure you. Just wanted you to know you're still in my thoughts.
Take care.
I didn't respond. But 2 days later, I found myself at that same bookstore, picking up the book he had mentioned. It was a novel about second chances and the courage it takes to be vulnerable. I hated that it made me cry. The next message came a week later. I'm learning to cook. Tried to make that pasta dish you used to make for breakfast. Failed miserably. The kitchen looks like a crime scene. How did you make it look so easy? Despite myself, I smiled. I remembered those mornings, preparing food he barely touched. You need to salt the water generously. And don't overcook the noodles. His response came immediately. You answered. I'm probably reading too much into this, but it made my entire day.
Thank you.
The conversations remained light, surface level, but they were honest. No grand declarations. No manipulation. Just two people carefully navigating the ruins of what had been. Stella's progress with Marcus followed a similar pattern. She told me they had coffee once at a neutral cafe and talked for 3 hours about everything except their shared past. He's different, she said one evening as we prepared dinner together. Or maybe he's finally letting me see who he really is. He talks about his childhood, about how his parents taught him that emotions were weaknesses. He's in therapy now, actually working on himself. How do you feel about that?
Confused.
Hopeful. Terrified. She chopped vegetables with more force than necessary. I want to believe he's changed, but I'm scared it's temporary. What if we give them real chances, and they revert to who they were? Then we walk away, I said firmly. We've already proven we can survive without them. This time, we have all the power. You're right. She set down the knife. I just wish my heart would stop hoping. It would be so much easier if I could just hate him. But you don't.
No.
I don't. And that's the problem. 6 months after their arrival in our world, Kevin asked if he could take me to dinner. Not a date. Just a meal between two people trying to figure out if friendship is possible. You can bring Stella if that makes you more comfortable. Or meet in a crowded restaurant. Whatever makes you feel safe. I stared at the message for an hour before responding. Saturday, 7 p.m. The restaurant on 5th Street. And yes, I'm bringing Stella. When Saturday arrived, I changed outfits 4 times before Stella physically stopped me. You look beautiful in everything. Stop spiraling. I'm not spiraling. You're absolutely spiraling. It's okay to be nervous. I'm not nervous about seeing him. I'm nervous about what it means that I'm nervous. She laughed.
Come on.
Marcus is meeting us there too. We'll face this together. The restaurant was warm and moderately busy, enough to feel safe, but not so crowded we couldn't talk. Kevin and Marcus were already there, both dressed casually but neatly, both standing when we arrived. Small gestures, but ones they never would have offered in the other world. Dinner was awkward at first. We stumbled over conversation topics, carefully avoiding anything too heavy. But gradually, the tension eased. Kevin told a self-deprecating story about his cooking disasters. Marcus shared an embarrassing moment from his psychology class. Stella and I exchanged glances throughout, communicating silently. They were trying, really trying. After dinner, Kevin walked me home while Marcus accompanied Stella in the opposite direction. "Thank you for coming tonight," Kevin said as we strolled through the quiet streets. "I know it wasn't easy." "It wasn't," I admitted. "But it wasn't as terrible as I expected either." "High praise," he said with a slight smile. Then he sobered. "Alice, I want you to know I'm not expecting anything from you. I'm not trying to manipulate my way back into your heart. I'm just grateful you're willing to talk to me at all." I stopped walking and turned to face him. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "In that other world, when I was making breakfast every morning and trying so hard to make you notice me, was there any part of you that wanted to respond? Any moment where you almost let your guard down?" He was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "Every single day. Every morning when I came downstairs and saw you there, sleep still in your eyes, making food you knew I liked, I wanted to pull you into my arms and tell you how much you meant to me. But I was so convinced it was wrong, that I was supposed to protect you, not love you, that I forced myself to stay cold. That must have been exhausting. It was torture. Self-inflicted torture." I started walking again, and he fell into step beside me. "I'm not ready to forgive you. I don't know if I ever will be. I understand. But I'm willing to see where this goes. The friendship thing. Maybe over time, we can build something that doesn't hurt." "That's more than I deserve," he said quietly. "Thank you." When we reached my apartment building, he didn't try to kiss me or hold my hand. He simply said goodnight and waited until I was safely inside before walking away. As I climbed the stairs to my floor, I realized my heart was lighter than it had been in months. Maybe healing was possible after all. A year after Kevin and Marcus followed us into our world, Stella and I received the same message simultaneously. It appeared directly in our minds, not on our phones or computers, but branded into our consciousness the way the system's demands used to be. Final gift granted. Truth revealed. Proceed to the following coordinates. Stella called me immediately. "Did you get it too?"
Yes.
"What do you think it means?" "I don't know, but I don't like it. The system should be done with us."
We should go, I said.
"Whatever this is, we need to know." The coordinates led us to an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. Kevin and Marcus insisted on coming with us, though we made them wait outside initially. Inside, the warehouse was empty except for a single glowing screen floating in the center of the space. As we approached, text began to appear. "Alice Hayes. Stella Gordon. You have completed your mission." "We quit the mission," Stella said aloud. "We refuse to play your game." Incorrect. The mission was never to seduce the male leads. The mission was to break free from forced narratives and reclaim your agency. My blood ran cold.
What?
You were not trapped in a story. You were living one. The system was designed to show you your own strength, your own worth, by placing you in circumstances where others controlled your choices and emotions. The true goal was always for you to say no. To choose yourselves. "That's insane," I whispered. "You made us suffer for 3 years just to teach us a lesson?" The suffering was not the lesson. The liberation was. Kevin Bright and Marcus Blackwood were real people, trapped in their own fears and emotional barriers. Their cruelty was genuine, born from their own damage. But their transformation has also been genuine. They followed you here not because the system commanded it, but because losing you broke something open in them that needed to break. Stella's hands were shaking. So all of it was real? Their feelings now and their cruelty then? All of it. The system created the framework, but the emotions within it were always real. You loved them genuinely. They hurt you genuinely. And now they're trying to heal genuinely. This is the truth you are owed. And the system? Are you truly gone now? The system has served its purpose. You are free. All 4 of you. What you build from here is entirely your choice. The screen flickered and disappeared, leaving us in darkness. We stumbled outside where Kevin and Marcus waited anxiously. What happened? Kevin asked, steadying me as I nearly fell. I looked up at him, seeing him clearly for the first time without the weight of our past clouding my vision. He was just a man. Flawed, damaged, but trying desperately to be better. The system said goodbye, I told him. We're free. Completely free. What does that mean? Marcus asked, his arm protectively around Stella. It means, Stella said slowly, that whatever happens next is completely up to us. No more destiny. No more forced roles. Just us deciding what we want. Kevin's eyes searched mine. And, what do you want, Alice? I took a deep breath. For the first time in 4 years, I knew exactly what I wanted. I want to try. Not to go back to what we had, but to build something new. Something honest. I paused. But I need you to understand something. I'm not the same girl who loved you desperately and asked for nothing in return. I know my worth now. If we do this, it's as equals. And the moment you make me feel small again, I'm gone. I would never, he started. You did before. You could again. So I need you to promise me that if you ever feel yourself slipping back into those patterns, you'll talk to me. You'll be honest instead of cruel. I promise, he said, and the sincerity in his voice made something in my chest unfurl. Stella and Marcus were having a similar conversation a few feet away. I heard her laying down her own boundaries, heard him agreeing to everything she asked. We were all taking a leap of faith. But this time, we were doing it with our eyes open. Epilogue. 2 years later. 2 years later, I stood at the edge of the Viridian River. Not the river from that nightmare world, but the one in our city that shared the same name. A strange coincidence that used to unsettle me, but now felt like reclaiming something that had once been a symbol of ending. Stella sat beside me on the grassy bank, our shoes kicked off, toes just brushing the water's edge. Do you ever think about them? She asked quietly. I knew exactly who she meant. Sometimes. Less now than before. After the system's final message, we had spent 6 more months trying. 6 months of coffee dates and careful conversations, of Kevin and Marcus proving they had changed, of Stella and I constantly checking in with each other to make sure we weren't falling back into old patterns. But something had shifted in both of us during those months. Something fundamental. We had learned to love ourselves more than we loved them. I think I knew it was over the day Marcus asked me to move in with him, Stella said, trailing her fingers through the grass. He was so earnest, so hopeful. And I looked at him and realized I was trying to force myself to feel something that just wasn't there anymore. When did you tell him? 2 weeks later. We went to that cafe where we'd had our first real conversation, and I told him the truth. That I had loved who I thought he could be, but I didn't actually know him. Not really. And I didn't want to spend years trying to fall in love with a stranger just because we shared a traumatic past. How did he take it? Better than I expected. He cried. Told me he understood. That he'd spent so long being emotionally unavailable that he couldn't blame me for not being able to trust him now. She smiled sadly. He's in therapy still. Working on himself for himself now. Not for me. I think that's healthier. I nodded, remembering my own conversation with Kevin 3 months ago. We'd been walking through a park, his hand in mine, when I had stopped suddenly and just known. I can't do this, I had said. The fear that flashed across his face had been immediate. What do you mean? Did I do something wrong? No. You've been perfect. That's almost the problem. I had struggled to find the right words. You've become exactly what I wanted you to be 3 years ago. Attentive, caring, present. But the girl who wanted those things doesn't exist anymore. She died in that river. Alice. I've spent 2 years trying to make this work because I thought I owed it to my younger self. The one who loved you so desperately. But I don't love you anymore, Kevin. I love who I've become without you. And I think I need to honor that instead of trying to resurrect something that was built on pain. He had been silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with unshed tears. I understand. I don't want to, but I do. You're a good man now. You've done the work. You'll find someone who can love this version of you without the weight of history crushing it. And you? What will you do? I'm going to live. Really live. Without a system dictating my purpose or a relationship defining my worth. Just me, figuring out what Alice Hayes wants from this world. We had hugged goodbye, and I had cried, but they were clean tears. The kind that wash things away instead of drowning you. Do you think they'll be okay? Stella asked now, pulling me back to the present. I think so. They're not the same men who hurt us. They've genuinely changed. They just changed for us, not for themselves, and that's not enough to build forever on. No, she agreed. It's not. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun paint gold across the water's surface. I got accepted to that graduate program, Stella said suddenly. The one in Tokyo. I turned to her, eyes wide. The architecture program? Stella, that's incredible. I leave in 2 months. She looked at me with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Come with me. To Tokyo? Why not? You can create art anywhere. And we promised we'd face the world together, remember? I'm tired of building my life around men who don't deserve the real estate in my head. Let's go build something just for us. A smile spread across my face, the kind that came from somewhere deep and genuine.
Yes.
Absolutely yes. She grabbed my hand and squeezed it tight. We survived a nightmare, died and came back, and learned to walk away from people we once thought we couldn't live without. Tokyo should be easy by comparison. I laughed, the sound carrying across the water. When you put it that way, moving to another country sounds downright boring. Good. I'm ready for boring. Boring sounds perfect. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, I thought about the girl who had stepped into that river 2 years ago, ready to end everything just to escape. She had been so broken, so convinced that love meant suffering. But she had been wrong. Love meant choosing yourself first. It meant knowing when to hold on and when to let go. It meant understanding that surviving something with someone didn't mean you owed them your future. Stella and I had been through hell and back. We had died and been reborn. We had given second chances and learned when to take them back. And now we were choosing ourselves. Choosing adventure, possibility, a future we would write without any system or man or painful past dictating the narrative. My phone buzzed. A message from Kevin. I heard about Tokyo. I'm happy for you. Truly. Thank you for teaching me what real love looks like, even if I learned it too late. Be well, Alice Hayes. I showed Stella the message. She read it and nodded. That's growth. It is, I agreed. I typed a response. Thank you for finally becoming the person you should have been all along. I hope you find what you're looking for. Goodbye, Kevin. Then I deleted his contact. Not out of anger or spite, but because I was closing a chapter, making space for whatever came next. Ready to go home? Stella asked, standing and brushing grass from her jeans. Ready, I said, taking her offered hand and pulling myself up. We walked away from the river together, 2 women who had learned the hardest lesson of all, that sometimes the greatest love story isn't about finding the right person. It's about finding yourself and refusing to lose her ever again.